Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Comcast. Normally, I would say we're back with a brand new guest with a brand new episode, but we're actually back with a returning guest. But this is a brand new episode and a completely brand new topic. You've already sort of introduced yourself like once on the podcast, but why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself again for people who didn't hear that episode?
Hi, I'm Haley, and I'm currently partnering with Carys on a disability project that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. And for those of you who don't know, the disability project that we're working on is through my nonprofit that I founded and am the CEO of. It's Volunteer Humanity. It's a student service organization that helps kids, teens, young adults, anyone in high school or college, really, that needs service hours for educational advancement. We just do projects and let them create projects that allows them to get those hours in sort of a just new, unique, and personal way. But enough with that plug. So today we're really here to talk about, sort of, because it is Disability Pride Month, just sort of the maybe effects that, having a disability or being a part of another minority group on top of having a disability can have on your mental health, as well as, just how to be a kind person and how to be a good friend to people, how to be an icon, a legend, really. So, just to sort of get us started, I want to sort of tell you guys some things that I thought were really crazy. I actually was researching this yesterday because this is a really impromptu episode. But I found out yesterday that like 40% of bisexual men actually report having a disability. 36% of lesbian women report having a disability. Same goes for bisexual women. That's about 36%. It's the same. And interestingly enough, I don't know why like it's so specifically, but 26% of gay men in Washington, so Washington State, report having a disability. There just must be a lot of gays in Washington. I don't know. You wouldn't think, right? Because I feel like that's a very political state. I don't know why. Because maybe just because like George Washington, but like get gays, get out. Like go to California, leave. Like don't be there. That's not your place. Anyways, yeah, but so it's really interesting how there's so much crossover there. And I do want to say being LGBTQ is not a disability. So it's interesting to think about maybe why that might be. Sort of what are your thoughts on those? Because those are surprising to me.
I think that disabled people are usually a little bit more empathetic and usually understand more. So the reason that a number of people in the LGBTQ plus community also have to be very empathetic and understanding, and maybe the reason there's a crossover is because they can find community in both.
That's true. And you know what? Something that this probably is not a popular opinion because it's probably not correct, but I feel like every single person on this planet has the possibility of just being a little bit homosexual, just a little bit. I feel like everyone has that possibility. I just don't think like human sexuality is so limited that, you could never think about, like someone of the same, even if you identify as straight, that you can never think somebody the same sex is like attractive. So I feel like maybe just like you said, because people with disabilities are already sort of marginalized and are more empathetic and have, sort of that sense and that need for community, maybe they just like don't fight it as much. But that's just my take. That's probably so wrong. Do not quote me on that. Get off of Twitter. No quoting that because I'll be canceled immediately. There's that one guy named like Greg who lives in Ohio. That's like, I would never. And I'm like, okay, Greg, your real name's Gregory. So you definitely would. Anyone named Gregory, I'm like, kind of sus. Anyways. But yeah, so interesting when you think about that, especially because, other than the specifics, I mean, 2 and 5, what is it? Like 2 and 5 transgender adults like have a disability, 1 and 4 LGBTQ adults in California. It's insane to think about something like that. And especially because there's so many mental health issues that and social inequalities that LGBTQ people already face. And then on top of having a disability, like you personally have experience with that. So why don't you?
I am a bi-disabled woman, so yes. I am a woman. I am 3 marginalized groups. I am a woman, I am gay, and I am disabled.
Don't you have a shirt that says that?
We were gonna make a shirt that says that.
Okay, wait, no. So if you guys go to Volunteer Humanities Bonfire Store, which I'll link in the description below, you can actually get that shirt. It actually says I'm a gay disabled female. So if you guys meet all of those three, if you tick all of those, or if you don't and you just wanna go out there with that shirt, I mean, you can get it, and you can get a lot of other disability pride merch. Okay, so as you were saying, how do you think that maybe being in the LGBTQ space and having it like a disability or a chronic condition, like how has that impacted your life overall?
It makes family get-togethers very awkward.
Fair enough.
Because not only do you have the, when are you bringing home a husband, but you have the, can we have your whole medical history from the last time we've seen you? Like, everything. We just need everything. We need to know everything going on in your life. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need to know that I'm taking this medication at this time.
I mean, why be so nosy about it? Like, what? Just walk up to your like Aunt Helen and be like, where's your fifth husband? Where is he? Because I know that the fourth one's weaning off. It's already, the divorce paperwork is in the works.
Well, and they're like, when are you having a baby? And I'm like, that is the most awkward question anyone could ever ask someone.
Yeah, and especially like, what if I don't want one? Like, what? Ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy though that your family is like that's the way that they react. Interestingly enough, mine is sort of the complete opposite, and I mean more my extended family. Like
it's more my dad's side. My mom's side's just like chill. Not telling me that if I lose 50 pounds, my cerebral palsy will go away.
Let's have that conversation. Let's start there. So, PSA, public service announcement. When someone has a chronic condition, if you look up the definition of chronic, CHRONIC, I know how to spell. If you look at that definition, it is a chronic condition, meaning it's not necessarily caused by something that can be fixed or like recovered from or healed from, or some other word I can't think of right now, by losing weight or going on I don't even know what, like a sweet potato diet, like a grass diet, like eat grass. Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Or doing yoga.
Don't even start nothing. Take a walk. Oh, your joints hurt? Take a walk. Oh, so you just want to make my joints hurt worse. But yeah, so like definitely, I mean, that's a good place to start when talking about things like when you're interacting with people who have chronic conditions, or when you're interacting with people who have a disability. Maybe don't say those things, because not only is it just wrong, it's also very insensitive and rude.
Also, not to cut you off, but can we talk about the people that are like, can I pray for you?
No, but yeah, you can Venmo me something. Like,
it's like, I'm all for prayer and good vibes.
Yeah,
I'm sure you are too. Like,
yeah, like if that's your thing,
vibes. Yeah. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you're gonna say it, don't say it with so much pity. You make it sound like I'm a dying puppy when you say it that way. Can I pray for you? No, be like, hey girl, you look like you're having a rough day. Do you need me to send you some good vibes? Like, talk to us like we're normal people.
Yeah, especially, and it makes no sense either. It's like, okay, this isn't the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like, you can take, like, this is a Walmart. Like, what do you mean?
Also, I like that you touched on Walmart. The amount. So
do not get us sued.
I'm gonna share a little experience.
Do not get us sued.
I'm not gonna get us sued. No, it has nothing to do with Walmart. Walmart was just the place I was at.
Okay.
So I'm a woman with cerebral palsy, for those of you who do not know. And I had a really rough day beforehand, and I was in a flare. So I grabbed the little electric scooter. And I'm just driving down the aisles. And I'm also a bigger woman. You can't see it on camera, but I'm not, a stick. And there were people that were staring at me. I'm like, what? Why are you staring? Is it because my outfit's so cute? Like, y'all need to learn to avert your eyes. I don't stare at you, Mr. American flag t-shirt and camo shorts. Don't stare at me for using a mobility aid. Like, what's wrong with people?
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of, I mean, it reminds me of like if you're passing, and I hate to be like have this comparison, but if you're passing like a car crash, you have people who just like you can't see it if you're listening to the podcast, but I just cranked my neck like a person with like psychopathic tendencies. I don't even know. Yeah, and it's sort of just like an almost immediate human reaction if you see something that maybe you don't see every day, or maybe something that's you find personally to be shocking. I mean, you look, but it's having that like second thought of like, that's kind of not nice, or like maybe that makes this person uncomfortable. It's having that awareness.
Or touching people's mobility aids. What would you think if you had a piece of mobility equipment and someone came over and touched it? Wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches. How would you feel?
I'm baffled. Why? What's the point? What do they get out of that?
I don't know.
we're both like we brought it up, and we're like still baffled by it. I don't understand that, especially like, so even if it wasn't a mobility aid, like, keep your hands to yourself, like what? And that can make someone feel so uncomfortable.
I use a walker part-time, and to me, I view my walker as like my purse or my car. Like, you don't go around touching someone's car. Don't go around touching my walker. And for people in wheelchairs, we're going to take a moment to tell you guys, most wheelchair users, the wheelchair is their legs. That is like touching their legs without their consent. And that is completely 1000% wrong. Also, never push someone in a wheelchair without their permission, because that is also wrong. Very wrong.
Yeah. Especially because something that a lot of people don't realize is like, you realize it's their legs that, or maybe it's their back, or something with their lower portion of their body that is causing them the inability to walk on their own and need a wheelchair. Their arms are fine, and a lot of people with wheelchairs use their arms to move the wheelchair.
And if their arms aren't fine, they'll have someone with them.
Yeah, it's like they have someone designated to do that who they already have their consent. Like, do not take that upon yourself.
And I wear a leg brace, and people look at my leg brace and ask me, have you had a sports injury recently? Do I look like I've had a sports injury recently? Like, why? Why would you ask a plus size disabled woman if she has a sports injury? Like, I just, or people stopping you in your day-to-day life. Like, I worked at Macy's, and I'd be just checking people out, and they'd be like, it's so great what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm at work. People work. And they're like, well, you have challenges no one else has. I'm at work.
Exactly. It's like, okay, that's like just like a huge pet peeve of mine. Like, I don't have anything that you can really, like physically see. Like, a lot of my I wouldn't have something that you could technically qualify as a disability. It's more of just like chronic illness and chronic conditions. So IBS, tortuous colon, which is really funny. Look that up. Basically my colon said, it said, I'm gonna bend. It said gymnastics. But anyways, and then I'm also getting, tested for autoimmune disease right now, just because of different things and different symptoms that have been going on in my life. So those things you can't see those things, right? Like, that's not something that, people can look at you and go, oh, well, she has a chronic condition. Like, especially I think of myself as a pretty healthy person. I look like a normal everyday like person. So it's not something that you can see. So then when you bring it up, it's like, oh, like, don't like.
Well, and not all disabilities are visible. There's
Yeah.
times that There's times that my cerebral palsy is super visible when I'm outside with my walker and my leg brace fully exposed in the summer. But there's times where I wear a pair of like a long skirt or a pair of pants that cover my brace and no one would know. I feel like we just need to treat all people with respect.
That is a huge thing, especially, when you don't have, if you have a disability and then you're not getting that respect and you're getting pity, which is not respect, like don't ever pity someone else. And so, you have that facing you. And then, me and you both are part of the LGBTQ community. So we also get, disrespect and harassment and things like that from those. And I feel like that leads to just a lot of like bullying and exclusion. Have you ever like experienced that, by the way?
Yes, I've had a lot of people tell me, why don't you just choose one? Like, why don't you just choose boys or girls? Like, why don't you just choose to be a nice person? I'm sure you've felt that before, though, being pan. People are like, why don't you just choose one? And you're just like, why don't you don't go to an ice cream store and be like, I only ever want to eat butter pecan the rest of my life.
Yeah, for me, especially when you're, especially like something that's not talked about enough. And because when you talk about the LGBTQ community, a lot that comes up is, lesbian people, gay people, and trans people. And a lot of people forget about everything in between, asexuals, demisexual, but especially pan and bisexual. And a lot of things, we get labeled as, and excuse my language, we get labeled as, sluts, pass arounds, because we like, if you're bisexual, you like men and women. If you're pansexual, you like anyone who you like it doesn't matter what gender they are. And that's sort of the category that I fall into. Is I don't care how you identify in terms of gender. I don't care what's, down there, tucked away. I do not care about any of that. Like, are you a good person? Do we get along? There, that's all I need. So it is very frustrating because people just don't understand that. And a lot of it comes from ignorance, and sometimes it's willful ignorance, but sometimes it is really just ignorance, which is, sort of the whole point of having that education and having that awareness portion of it.
Well, and I'm going to talk as a plus size disabled woman for a minute. We don't get a lot of representation. So I go to places like the beach. And one, I'm insecure about the my crippled hand and my limp. And then two, I'm like, oh, I'm wearing a swimsuit and everyone's going to see everything. And I just need to like crawl in a ball and die. But then I looked at everyone else having fun. Right. And I said to myself, I'm in the pool just like everyone else is having fun. Anyone who's at the beach has a beach body, no matter if they're in a wheelchair, no matter if they're 600 pounds, no matter if they're a stick, no matter if they're a trans female wearing a bikini, or a trans man wearing a binder and swim trunks. Everybody's body is a beach body.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I'm gonna quote you on that in the social media post that I'm going to be promoting, because that's so true. Because you know what, no one else says anything else like that. Like, it's only like, oh, I got to get the beach body, I got to get the perfect beach body, or whatever. And people don't say that about anything else. Like, okay, so for example, you go ice skating in the winter. No one is like, oh, I don't have the rink bod. Like, no one says that. No one is like, oh, I gotta go on a diet because I don't have my ski body. It's like nobody does that. It doesn't make any sense. There's no theater body, there's no church body. Like, it's only the beach. And it's because I feel like, the beach, obviously we're wearing things that are vulnerable, but it's also just like not true. It's just like society and marketing, really. And just, people, because you know what, you hear beach body a lot and it's always associated with women. Men could show up looking like they could wear a trash bag on their body and we'd be like, oh, work. But like a woman shows up and she could have done, let's say she has, a six pack and she looks like Victoria's Secret model who actually eats sometimes and like, has this really athletic body, and you would still find something wrong with her. You'd be like, she looks like a guy. She's too buff.
Well, and I hate to bring up celebrities in your podcast, but I feel like when we were growing up, like when we were teenagers, for lack of better terms, preteens, those ages where you're mentally vulnerable, we were taught you need to be thin, you need to be skinny. And a lot of people with disabilities and LGBTQ people, trigger warning, suffer from eating disorders because they have undiagnosed medical conditions. They're sad because they can't do the things their friends do. They're being outed and they're being told that their body is not beautiful. And then nowadays, which I'm really glad of, there's people like Lizzo and other plus size women who are trying to change the narrative.
Yeah, I think that's so important to point out. I
But
do think that, yeah, that has changed. There's a lot more body positivity nowadays than even just a couple years ago.
But we don't, and I do feel like sometimes even the big girl body positivity can also be body shaming. Like, we need to not body shame skinny girls for not being big girls, and we need to not body shame skinny girls for being big girls for being not being skinny. Like,
like the bottom line is just don't body shame.
Like, all bodies are just bodies if we think about it.
We are all just meat suits going from place to place.
It's just a meat suit. Your personality is not dictated by your body.
If my personality, like, I always okay, so I'll like kind of off track. Have you ever thought like, okay, but if that was true, like if my body like was a predetermination for my personality, what would my personality be like? And sometimes I'm just like a gay frat boy. Like like the haircut is just giving me that or just like a psychopath. Like, I don't know.
Well, and we joke that my haircut gives Jewish mom, so Jewish I guess vibes. Jewish mom vibes over here.
Oh my gosh, yes. But something else that is sort of to pivot, but I mean, stay on topic, but sort of pivot too. You had me thinking about, we do have these greater risks for mental health disorders and just health issues in general, either because of like all of the things you said, all of the social issues that we face, inner turmoil, things like that, but also just in access to care and limited services,
or just public accessibility in general. I live in a small town. There's only like 3 or 4 businesses that are handicap accessible. So as a person who uses a walker, I have to leave my walker outside sometimes. And am I afraid that it's going to get stolen? Yes. But I have to, because I luckily am a disabled person who can walk a few steps without a mobility aid. But then I think about all my disabled family, because anyone who's disabled or chronically ill is automatically your family. And I think they wouldn't be able to go to this business. Like, they wouldn't be able to go here. And that's sad. They don't have access to many places here because they're in a wheelchair. Or they have to use a walker. We're trying to change the fact that businesses aren't accessible. But it's really sad when you think about it.
Yeah, and that's still true for a lot of LGBTQ people, especially. There's obviously that practical aspect of it, but then there's that mental aspect. Like, am I going to be judged if I go in here? I was actually talking to someone yesterday saying that they applied for a job at Crackle Barrel, and I said I would never want to work at Crackle Barrel. I feel like I'd be hate crimed there. Like, that's my worst nightmare, is like showing up looking like I look and talking like I talk and acting like I act, and I'm not going to smash on all the people who go to Crackle Barrel. I know people who go to Crackle Barrel that are great, but I know a lot of people that go there are also not super accepting, open-minded people.
And I've boycotted a few businesses for being that way. I've boycotted Forever 21 because I have a Forever 21 horror story.
Oh, wait, let's hear it. Let's expose it.
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I wanted a pretty homecoming dress. So my sister took me to Forever 21 because back in 2016, that was the place to go for cheap, cute dress.
Mm-hmm.
I have hemiplegic cerebral palsy, so half of my body, arm, leg are affected. So I need help trying on, dresses with zippers and dresses that can be a little harder to get into. And I had a person who works there tell me, your sister can't go in there because these are co-ed dressing rooms, and it would be a liability. I'm like, we're not going to do anything that's immoral. I'm literally wearing a tank top and shorts underneath my outfit. Like, she's just going to be slipping dresses on me to see if they fit me. So then I had to go in a dressing room alone, take twice the time at the business. Then their dressing room was occupied for twice the time, which meant that a person would probably get frustrated, just like, I don't even want to try on clothes anymore, that was behind me, and made me feel shameful because I'm sitting there taking so much time.
And that's so weird. I mean, I know that they did that, like didn't let two people back at a time in like COVID times. And I know some stores, I don't think Guest does it anymore, but
this was pre-COVID. This was
yeah. I more mean like I remember being told one time, like me and my mom were together and I wanted her to come in the dressing room with me. So I didn't have to like open the door and walk out and like show the whole world me trying on clothes. Like that's not something I feel comfortable with. But stores are like, no, like we have a problem with stealing. And I'm like, that's your fault.
Well, another thing is you have to look at the person, or we told her what was going on with me. We told her, hey, my older sister was like, hey, my sister's handicapped. Like, she needs help. Like, and I don't think we should have had to disclose that. I should have been like, I need a little extra help because I have a condition, and they should have just helped me. But instead they made me feel shame and not want to try on dresses. Though shout out to the gay guy that worked there in 2016 because he hyped me up.
And see, that brings us back. Like there's being in a community and having that community portion is such a safeguard, such a comfort, because there's always like that's like the best experience, right? Like having a horrible experience and then just like the trademark gay in the Forever 21 being like, yes, work. Like
he was like, I want to use this dress for drag. I was like,
yes. Oh my gosh. And I know that was like a stereotypy voice, but I'm just being funny. Please don't cancel me. Thank you.
But or like, I don't eat at places like Chick-Fil-A because Chick-Fil-A hates the gays.
I don't eat at Chick-Fil-A because I'm a vegan, so there's nothing for me to eat. But yeah, we were talking essentially just about.
But the ADA we know that the ADA was founded in 1990 on July 26th. That's why we celebrate Disability Pride Month in July. It's because July 26th, 1990 made the ADA. A lot of people don't realize that the ADA is great, but the ADA needs to change. The ADA makes sure that people who are disabled or chronically ill do not get discriminated in the workplace, at schools, churches, anything of that nature, which is great because before 1990, things were rough.
Well, let's be honest though. They have those regulations and rules in place, but how much of the time does that actually get followed?
And I agree with you. Like, I believe that the ADA says that most schools have to be accessible. I know for certain my high school would not pass ADA standards. The ADA also recommends that businesses are accessible. And I can count numerous times they are not. So how are we following these ADA rules?
The answer is like they're not. They're ignoring it, and I mean partly that's obviously the businesses incompetence or the school's incompetence and just disregard, but partly it's like ADA. Come on, like send people out, like do checks. Like you can't just write this on a piece of paper and expect the majority of people to follow it. You have to enforce it, and that's a big issue that you see.
When COVID happened, the CDC didn't just say, okay, we're gonna ask ask that everyone wears their mask.
Yeah, no, businesses like would straight up refuse you, and they'd be like, no, dude, you're not getting on this plane that you need to get on to go to your grandmother's funeral. Put on the mask. And I 100% support that. But yeah, it's like you can't just put things in place and then not enforce it. For example, there's a wild example. If murder, I mean, if so, murder is illegal in this country. You can't do that. That's not right. You go to jail, or prison, I guess I should say. But that's because we actually enforce it, that people don't, like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different reasons why people do and do not commit murder, but one of the ones for do not is incarceration, life in prison, things like that. But if we had just written in the Constitution, like, hey, you can't murder people, and we were like, yeah, okay, and then we went around and did it and there was no punishment.
It's just business. The ADA needs to start like actually mandating things.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing, is mandating, and educating people, making sure that there's awareness and representation. All of those points need to sort of come together and just make things better.
I think the bottom line is people just need to respect everyone, no matter race, disability, sexuality, or creed. Like, we just all need to respect each other. Is it
100%.
that hard?
Apparently some people think it is.
We just need to do the golden rule and treat others how we would want to be treated. We literally learned it in kindergarten, people. Kindergarten.
Yeah. So moral of the story today, don't be garbage. Educate yourself and stay aware and conscious of what you're thinking. Be considerate. And don't touch people's wheelchairs. That's we don't do that. Don't do that. That's just weird. And with that, I guess we're gonna have to sign off. Remember to follow us on Instagram at the.com.blog. I really, 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 really hate that handle, and I'm almost gonna change it. Just wait. I might change the handle soon. You can also go check out all of our blogs at www.thecomblog.com. And we did talk about the Disability Project. If you guys want to learn more about the organization that I founded and am the CEO of, that will be hosting that project that we're releasing soon, you can visit www.volunteerhumanity.org. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Buy the merch.
Yes, buy the merch. Link in description below. Yes, yes, buy the merch, guys. It's really cool. I'm so excited for my hoodie to come. And I'm also just so appreciative. Thank you, and big shout out to Humanity Rising for powering Calm and the Comcast and this podcast, and allowing us to do this and provide you guys service hours for listening and making it all the way through whatever this extravaganza was. And with that, we will sign off. Bye, guys.
Bye.